I'm Sam, and this is my cargo van, who you all have so lovingly named Vanna White. Over the past year, I've been turning her into a tiny home on wheels for my family and my rescue pup to travel the country in. But this build had a bigger purpose too. I've been racing the clock to get Vanna road ready in time for my other half's national cycling championships. And whether or not I actually finished in time, well, you'll just have to see. In this video, we're breaking down the full start to finish renovation, the timeline, and the burning question everyone keeps asking: how much did this whole build actually cost? So buckle up, pun absolutely intended, because this one is a wild ride. Let's get started. Huge shout out to these brand partners for helping make this build come to life. So let's get some of the boring stuff out of the way first. This is a 2020 Ford F350 Transit cargo van. It has a high roof and an extended back. I will throw a diagram up on the screen so you can kind of see the layout that we're working with here. I will definitely share my 3D rendered floor plans for this though in just a little bit. But as you can imagine, it is going to be quite the challenge to get essentially a full-size studio apartment in this cargo van. Now, I purchased this van about a year ago, and in the meantime, I've been using it as a work van as I do tons of research on how to convert this into a camper van. Yes, you heard that right. I have been doing research for a year before deciding to jump into actually building this thing out. And the reason for that is because I've never done this before and I want to do it the right way. So I will be sharing all of my sources and brands and people and things and videos that have helped me figure out how to do this project along the way. Buckle up, friends. It's going to be an adventure, and let's start this video with demo. Oh, I just want to cut holes in the van. I'm going to be using this mat as my template for when I cut my floor, but as you can see, there are a couple spots where it's a little long and overlapping. So what I'm going to do is actually take the time before I remove the mat to take a blade and just make kind of a larger tolerance here so that when I do eventually use the mat, I'm getting a more accurate cut and then using it as a template later. While I demo, let's walk through some of the game plan and the non-negotiables for this build. So obviously we are going to be traveling to a very big and very important race that is halfway across the country this year. And because of that, we are definitely going to need to prioritize bike storage and comfortability. But just know, there are so many different ways to convert a van based on the research that I did, and I'm just doing this in the best way that works for us. All right, so now that we're on to the boring cleaning portion of this video, let's talk game plan. So these are the 3D models that I have created for my van. Now, this is just a tentative layout of where I think everything is going to go. The priority here was making sure that the plumbing was kind of just on one side of the van because I really do not want to run complicated plumbing in my first van build. But other than that, I may just take away a little bit of counter space to make a hangout / dining space situation or something that maybe folds outside, but I will figure that out later. So now that we talked game plan, you watched me wash the floor of a cargo van. One thing I do want to mention is if you are looking to embark on this journey, it is super important to make sure you're starting with a solid base. So the last thing I really wanted to do before getting to the fun stuff in this build was to just cover any rust spots with some rust primer and paint. And then once that was done, it was time to really get started on this build, and I'm so excited to take you on this journey with me. Let's go. Friends, welcome to official day one of this van build. Dad is going to be here tomorrow because we are going to get started on work on the roof of the van because it is going to get very cold out very soon. We've been very lucky with how warm it's been lately. My goal today is to start assembling this whole hunk of roof rack right here. Once that's assembled, we can get that up, and then we can start to figure out where the solar panels and the fan and the climate control and everything else is going to live on top of the van. So remember how I mentioned there were tons of people and brands and resources that helped me research and get this van thing going. Yeah, huge shout out to Unaka Gear Co. Man, I had so many questions about this build, and not only did they help me figure out what I needed for this build, they have also provided a ton of stuff for the build as well. So shout out to them. I will link them below this video along with all of the things that I got from their website. They're amazing. Now I'm going to be powering up this van in a couple different ways, and one of those is with solar panels, and this specific roof rack actually is made for the solar panels that I chose for the van, so I know everything's gonna fit together like a puzzle, and I'm so excited about it. Today we're gonna do some work on the roof of the van. It's dirty up here. I'm leaving butt prints. I forgot that I purchased a GoPro to get on the roof. Let's see if this works. Spoiler alert, it works. So Dad took the day with me to get the roof rack up on the roof. Honestly, Unaka Gear Co. They could not have made this any easier. It fit like a glove. Not only do they have printable diagrams for how to install this thing, but they also have a YouTube video. So we were able to get this thing up like literally no problem. And since we were able to get it up so fast, it left us time on this day to actually begin cutting holes in the van, which I was like equal parts so excited and so nervous about. Ah, the first hole. Wait, I have to do the first hole. What's the worst that could happen? I don't know if I have the words to describe how exhilarating it is to cut a hole in a brand new cargo van. Like, I don't know what that says about me, but I'm not gonna lie, I had a lot of fun cutting giant holes in this van in order to customize it. Ah! No way! I mean, case in point, if you couldn't tell by how excited I was in that one clip. But anyway, this is one of many holes we'll be cutting in the van throughout this process, so I got used to that pretty quickly. Earthquake! Okay.
It's not filming, is it?
Yeah, of course it's filming. We're a bunch of idiots. So now that the hole was cut in the top of the van, I'll tell you what it's for. It's for this giant, heavy 80-pound AC unit that is a non-negotiable, and the hardest part of this entire project, I feel like, was actually lifting this thing on the roof of the van. This is a non-negotiable because we're going to be traveling mostly in the warmer months and with our dog, so an AC unit's super important. Oh my goodness, it looks so crazy. So after cutting a hole in the roof of the van and then attaching the AC unit to the top with a gasket and some sealant, it was then time to add a bracket to the inside of the van to hold it in. I did end up having to replace this bracket with a custom fit one for the Ford Transit later in the process.
Hungry, I'm tired. She didn't feed
I am
me.
also
she didn't
hungry.
Give me coffee or nothing.
You didn't ask for coffee.
I know, I had to bring my own. It's ice cold right now from 3 o'clock this morning.
You done?
You done?
You done? Okay, but actually Dad and I crushed it today. We got the AC unit in, which I'm so proud of us. Roof rack is up as well. Check this thing out. The only thing that we didn't get a chance to do was like seal all the brackets that are attached to the van, but I'm gonna do that this week while Dad's at work.
It's gonna rain.
No, why would you say that? Next weekend, Dad's gonna come back and we're gonna get the solar panels up and the fan up.
Maybe.
So from the day I got this van, I've hated these submarine windows in the back, and I knew that I wanted to replace them with flares, but essentially I'm cutting openings in the sides of the van to add bigger windows and more headspace for sleeping when we add the bedroom. Luckily, at this point, I was a pro at cutting holes in my van. I feel like once I cut that AC unit in, I just grew a lot of confidence when it came to cutting holes in the van, and I just used my jigsaw to literally cut out the entire back panels of this van in order to fit the flares. I'm not gonna lie, I might have enjoyed this part of the process like a little too much. So these flares were actually provided to me by Flare Space, and they are going to add some more living space to the bedroom area. They were really easy to install. Really, after cutting out the openings and cleaning everything up, it was time to just install them with like a butt ton of adhesive, and they look really awesome. It made a huge difference. Holes cut, prepped, window ready to go in. Can't see it. Ready to go in. All right, Dad, ready?
No.
Side note, I'm so stoked that my dad really wants to help me with this van. You're definitely going to be seeing a lot of him around for the duration of this project because he is as excited about this conversion as I am, and having him around to help with the exterior install stuff was just incredible. All right, friends, windows are in. Dad had to run. They look great. I'm still curious to see like how these actually stay on the van because right now they really are held with adhesive, masking tape, and a prayer. Let's finish our exterior portion of the work next weekend. See you then, friends. Bye. Okay, the windows look great. They feel sturdy. Feels like everything is dry. The only thing I haven't done yet is like a water test to make sure they don't leak, but I'm gonna wait to do that because I want to do that to the entire van. Today we're gonna move on to cutting the hole for the fan, and hopefully also getting the solar panels on. In terms of me cutting a hole for the fan, this was one of those things again that was a non-negotiable. We have to have a fan in this van to have some air circulation, especially once we have a shower running. Originally I thought I would need my dad's help with this, and he was supposed to come by that day to help, but I ended up being able to do it all by myself, and I was just so excited to get it done. Now this was one of those like drill through the top of the van into the van situations with sketch me out a little bit, but it totally worked, and I just made sure to add a ton of sealant around the entire unit, around everything on the top of the van, to be honest, because when you're drilling holes in your van, you need to seal everything. I mean, come on, look how proud of myself I look. Look at that face right there. It's so funny to watch back. At this point, kind of the final thing I wanted to do on the exterior of the van was to attach the solar panels. And like I mentioned earlier, I actually got these two 200-watt solar panels from Unaka that do fit with the actual roof rack that I installed. So these things were like literally a perfect fit. They fit like a glove. We did it! Solar panels, AC unit, fan,
And me.
and dad. So that pretty much means we're done with the exterior, but let me show you one thing that we gotta come back and do because we can't do today.
Nope.
These are the adapters. We're gonna run cables to these, and then they attach to the power bank, which will be on that side of the van. But I bought grommets, or what are they called?
Electric wire housing.
Okay, electric wire housings that I was going to attach to the van because we have to cut a little hole in the van, put this through into the hole, and then I wanted to just put like a cap on it. But the ones that I ordered don't fit these. So I'm actually going to revisit my friends at Unaka and get the ones that they make that actually fit these cables. And once those come in, I can drill the 2 final holes in the top of the van, and then we're really done with the exterior work. So good job.
I'm done. Bye. Gotta go.
Okay, bye. See you later.
Bye.
Don't
See you
steal the ladder. I gotta get down. All right. Good news, friends. It's raining. Why is that good? Because now I can see if and where there are leaks in the van. This is why you have to check for leaks. See that? So there's water coming in through that screw there. But the rest of this unit looks okay. Let's check the AC. Yeah, that looks dry, which means that that's sealed nicely. Windows are gonna be tricky because there's clearly water coming in through like here. But I'm just gonna run my hand along here and see if there are any drips. Let's go do the same thing with the other window and check back in. All right, friends, so the bad news is we got some leaking, but the good news is that we found it before we close up the walls. So once it stops raining, I gotta get up on the roof and do another layer of sealing around all of those screws. I'm also gonna seal them from the inside too. I don't like that they're exposed. Those little rusty spots, like those screws, I'm gonna just sand down a little bit and put some primer before I seal everything. The window flares are not leaking, which is great because I was actually really worried that they would. I am very excited how this is turning out. The exterior is done, and I think we're ready to move on to the inside of this van, friends. So before we can get to fun stuff, we have to do some sound deadening on these walls. So right now when I drive, this thing is super loud. And in order to cut down on some of that noise that is happening from these vibrating, we are going to be adding some sound deadening panels. I wasn't kidding about getting started on this project ASAP. I'm a little stressy that I only have about 4 months to get this build done at this point, and so we're going to be jumping on into these projects on this channel, so buckle up. Test, 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 test. You can already hear the difference in the echo from this side of the van to this side of the van. I'm so excited to drive this thing once all this kill mats up. So just like everything on the exterior of the van, everything on the interior van is also just like a first time me learning how to do things. I've never applied sound deadening mats to anything, and also, I don't know if you can tell, but this is not the right tool to do this with. I just had this like tiny little stamping rolly tool thing that I used that was in like a craft bin in my office, but it worked. I don't know, sometimes you just gotta get crafty. Also, pun not intended. So I kind of took this van on its maiden voyage after all of that exterior work to the dealership to get new wheels and tires put on it. And in that process, I learned that it was not only super loud and echoey inside, but also that my air conditioner was rattling, which was super concerning. I was afraid it was gonna like fall off the van and hit the car behind me, to be quite honest. So in addition to adding some sound deadening, I actually ordered a custom bracket for the back of the van to hold the AC in place. I feel so much better about this decision. we are ready for flooring. And as you can see, I've already started bringing in some pieces of wood to figure out like how thick I want the floor to be, how thick I want the insulation to be. I'm not gonna lie, I really don't want to go overkill on this floor because I want to keep max ceiling height in this van. So I have some brainstorming to do. Today's the day that I'm going to actually like permanently attach the framing to the van. It's looking a little chaotic in here, but like, I don't know, we live life on the edge, right? I also don't know if this is gonna work. I've never done this before, but like, what's life without a little hard lesson learning? It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Let's do it. If there's one thing I'm learning with this van build, it's that there are a lot of opinions on the internet about the way that you should or shouldn't be doing things in the van, and I can't necessarily tell which ones are right or wrong, so I'm just gonna go with my gut, especially on the floor. So I'm gonna decide to keep this. So I just cut the two that were too long. I'm gonna put them back in and we're gonna glue them down. I just feel like I really want to keep this because this is our entrance to our tiny home. And I'm nervous that it's just gonna get a lot of wear and tear, and this is just gonna hold up better than whatever floor I put down. Floor frame is down, it feels secure, it feels nice. I just was curious to see how the insulation would fit in, and so I just kind of cut a little piece here. Spoiler alert, it looks awesome. This part of the process was very therapeutic for me. I don't know why installing insulation in the floor of my van was therapeutic, maybe just because it just was something that felt easy and things just fell into place the right way. After the flooring is done and we actually figure out the layout of this van by the end of this video, that means that it's time to start wiring up the van and getting some electrical in it, and that freaks me the F out. But let's not get ahead of ourselves because clearly we have a lot of work to do before then. And yeah, this is pretty straightforward. Essentially just put some foam board insulation in between all of the floor frames and sealed everything up with foil tape. And once that was done, it was time to move on to actually installing the subfloor. Okay. Successful day. I'm so excited to put like an actual floor in here. I'm so excited about this. I'm still very nervous about the timeline, but one day at a time, friends. So see you tomorrow, bye. Okay, wait, this is so quiet now. No rattling, no humming. I don't feel like I'm literally driving a soup can around on wheels. Sound deadening for the win. We made it to my favorite store. Let's go get some plywood for the floors. I've had a couple moments in this build where present Sam or future Sam thanks past Sam for pre-planning. Remember this stinky mat? Well, I kept it and I'm so glad I did because I was able to use it as a template for the subfloor, and that saved me probably hours of work. Also, I cannot describe how happy I was to use a jigsaw to cut through wood at this point and not through a metal van. It really is just the little things in life that make me so happy. Side note, that footage of me laying down on the mat and contemplating my life choices was because I realized while laying down on that mat that this is literally how big the van is, and I had this like oh crap moment of I genuinely don't know if everything I want to put in this van is going to fit. Now, I know I haven't really spoken a lot of technical terms about what I'm doing in this build. I think part of that is because I've had a couple of moments already where I'm feeling like a little weird about sharing specs because I'm learning as I go and taking you along on this ride with me. But in case anybody's interested, my goal was to keep this floor as like tight or thin as possible. So I used 1x2 frames for the floor frame, obviously stacked in between each one of those with foam board insulation, and now I'm using 1/2-inch plywood that's going to float on top of that. Now the 1x2s plus the 1/2-inch plywood will still give me enough space to be able to screw things like cabinets and framing into the floor frame, but it's not really thick enough or intrusive enough to be a problem for the overall ceiling height, which ultimately is the priority here. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Also, I'm not super worried about this being a tight fit because not only is flooring going on top of this, but with all of the fixtures that I'm building, you're literally never gonna see any of these gaps. But I did want things like entryways to look very neat. Oh. Yes. It's kind of incredible what just putting a subfloor down has done to the entire vibe of this van. It doesn't feel like so much like a cargo van anymore. Now that the subfloor is down, that means I can put insulation in the walls. I want to do that before putting the good floor down because I don't want to get spray adhesive all over the good floor. So excited. See you tomorrow. Good morning. It is early. Today's installation day. I am definitely excited to insulate this thing and see the difference in the temperature, especially when I turn on like the heater and stuff in here. So my thoughts on insulation are pretty much the same thoughts I've been having this entire build. There are so many differing opinions on what to use in a van build for insulation, and I could go down the laundry list of things that I have found for this build, but ultimately I ended up going with this product called Thinsulate. But ultimately, it's basically like a 3-in-1 system. It's insulation, it's a sound barrier, and it's also going to help with moisture. This is definitely one of those options that I would splurge on, to be quite honest, because I want to make sure that the van is comfortable to live in. It's going to be a tiny home on wheels. Also, this is one of those things I thought was going to take me like literally a couple of hours to do because all I had to do was just like add some spray adhesive and attach these panels, and definitely longer than I thought it would take. I literally thought I'd be done with this project by noon. It is now 4 p.m. I mean, it's as done as it can be. I am not going to be insulating these windows. Hear me out. I have an idea for them, and in order for that idea to work, I can't add insulation to them. They came with trim rings, and once those trim rings are installed, I'm going to at least insulate behind the trim rings to give it something. Other than that, I pretty much got everything covered. The only things that are exposed are any spot where I'll be putting a piece of wood for the framing, and then what I'll do is I have enough left over that once the framing's done, I can go back in and pack any additional spots with some insulation. Successful day. I really would like to get out here tomorrow and do flooring, so we are definitely getting somewhere, friends. See you tomorrow. I feel like that should go pretty quickly. I have put down a floor like this in countless amount of houses. It's gonna be a little tricky cutting around things, but we'll figure that out. I'm not gonna lie, this was the turning point of this van build for me, because once you see what this cargo van looks like with an actual floor down, you're gonna kind of be like, this doesn't really look like a cargo van anymore, and family, that is the goal. Now, hear me out. I went to Home Depot and the flooring options were honestly overwhelming. I remember when I used to start working with my dad when I was 15 and like there was only one option of Pergo flooring, and now there are like thousands, but ultimately I went with a vinyl plank flooring because it's mostly made of plastic, which means that it won't expand and contract as much as some of the other options on the market. And this is super important because this van is not going to be climate controlled 100% of the time. There are times it's going to be sitting in the cold or the hot when we're not using it, and I just want to like limit any potential future problems. See, I told you this is the part of the project that's making me the happiest, because your girl knows something about floating floors. And honestly, unlike anything else in this van build, this process went very quickly and I was able to get it done in a few hours. End of day check-in. Hair is just as wild as it was when we started. Maybe a little bit more. How good does this floor look? I'm so excited about it. It's really starting to not feel like a cargo van in here anymore, and I'm very much enjoying that. Now that the floor is down, we can figure out the layout. So I'm gonna grab some painter's tape, and then I'm gonna give you a little van tour and show you a 3D model of what my plans are so we can start framing things out in our next video. Bedroom and garage. It takes up so much more space than I thought it would. That is a problem. Okay, let's do this side because this is just going to be cabinet space. So I know that we've been focusing on kind of the boring stuff right now in this van build, but what is not boring is the fact that I was finally able to tape out a layout for this van, which is so exciting because I really have been so nervous that things are just not gonna fit in here the way that we need them to. But I think that I officially figured it out and I made a tentative floor plan for it, and I can't wait to show you what this is gonna look like. Okay, friends, welcome to my tiny home. Let's take a tour. Here's my front door. Beautiful window. Lets in lots of natural light, which is actually a problem because I'd like some privacy in here. So we're gonna be tinting this. But anyway, we're gonna walk in. Welcome to my crib. Here is our living room / dining space right here. Right next to the bathroom. Hopefully have a toilet here that hides inside this bench when you're not using it. Fingers crossed. Over here is our kitchen, so that'll be a cooktop, a fridge, and like a prep space. This is our little sink here with what's gonna be our water heater and like a pump underneath, so that's great. And then this is our giant primary bedroom area and our garage. In theory, everything is gonna work right now because it's just tape, but I think once the walls are framed out, things are gonna be very different. Houston, we've got a problem. I just decided that yesterday was a great day to give myself some stitches along the side of my hand, doing the lamest thing ever, cutting a box with a utility knife. I was super bummed because I actually already went to Home Depot and picked up all the supplies I needed to frame out this van before Dad comes next weekend to help me wire up this van, and now I literally will not be able to do any of that until he gets here because I don't get these things out until next Friday. So cool.
1 week later.
We're back.
I got free breakfast.
Sorry, I'm chewing. That's so gross on camera.
This is my pay for the day. I got my coffee.
Listen, he can't complain that I didn't feed him because like we're clearly eating. Also, got my stitches out.
Yep. Come on, Stitch. Let's get this going.
Yeah, so now my new nickname is Stitch. I will wear a Band-Aid though because the scar is pretty gnarly and I don't think anybody wants to see it quite yet. So anyway, today we are wiring up the van. So exciting. We got some inventory to do and then we're gonna get in there and start.
Let's get cracking.
Let's get cracking. Cheers from our bacon, egg, and cheeses. I think we gotta mic you up because you're unhinged. This is the unit that I'm using. It's called the EcoFlow Independence Kit. It ain't cheap, that's for sure. But what I like about it is it's pretty much plug and play. So it comes with all of the wires that you need to plug into the actual unit. This is like our power hub, inverter, everything, all that fancy stuff. All I know is we gotta get this on the wall, plug in all the things that charge it, and then there's also a separate control panel, which I'll show you in a little bit, that we're gonna plug all of the wiring into.
So are you saying that this is idiot proof?
I mean, it's supposed to be idiot proof, so that means we're probably gonna have a lot of trouble with it.
Now.
Yeah, we're gonna.
I'm leaving. I hear my mother calling me.
Ow, my bum hand. I can't lift that thing.
Lord.
I just got my stitches out.
Yeah, wait till you get my doctor's bill.
Friends, so this is the part where I tell you all to buckle up, and yes, pun intended, officially entering the portion of the project where I quite literally have no idea what I'm doing, which is why I'm so grateful that Dad is here to help because he's a wealth of knowledge and your girl's got a lot to learn about electrical systems, especially in a van. That being said, let's jump on into it because we hit a snag pretty quickly into day one of trying to set up this electrical system, which really set the stage for the rest of this process, unfortunately. Just kidding, we got a little excited. It's our first time doing this. But we took this down because we realized if we put a panel up there, we can't reach the wires. Yeah, duh. We took the panel down. I'm going to build, I think, a custom box for the batteries and everything to sit in now that I know the dimensions because we framed it out. What Dad and I are gonna do though right now is we are gonna start running all the tentative wire everywhere. That way we can bundle it here and label it here. So when I build the box and it has the opening for everything, we can just like thread it through and be neat about it, and then all the wires will hide in this area here behind the box. You're unhinged and I need to record you.
Ow! Got my hair!
It's not my fault you have chest hair.
Ow!
Fix it, I don't know what to tell you. So prior to doing any electrical work in this van, Dad and I had a couple of brainstorming sessions where we pretty much made actual lists of things that we'll need to plug into the van, what power it needs, what wires it's gonna need. I learned so much about like amperage and watt hours and like basically an entire foreign language of electrical stuff for this van build, which was great, but also a lot of work. We got a bunch of wiring tentatively done. Well, Dad did the wiring. I got some framing. Once we found our groove, like we really were in it. These are my ceiling lights. Check it. Woo!
And they're working off a 9-volt.
Which is good. Chain a bunch of those together and they'll
I
work.
see the light.
All right, on that note, bye. So after working out the electrical kinks, it was time to figure out the electrical housing and where it was actually going to live inside of the van and how. So I did take some time in my workshop to build a box where all of the stuff is going to live in the garage. And we'll talk about this in a little bit. Actually, we'll do it now. So I've been trying to figure out how to like fit all of the electrical components in this part of the van, and I really for some reason thought I had way more space than I actually do. This is like kind of like the brains of the operation, and this is a breaker box. So I think what I'm gonna do is keep the batteries next to each other. Originally I was gonna stack them on top of each other and then try to stack these here, but this needs like a decent amount of breathing room because it has fans, it needs to vent. That's gonna be pretty tall, and that's because we have to fit bikes under it, but that gives me a lot more room to hang things. So this comes with a really cool template that I'm gonna hang on here, mark out where the brackets go, and then I'm also going to mark where I want to cut this. And now that I actually have this bump out window, I have enough room to be able to cut this entire panel and it slide right on in there and be nice and flush and neat. Really excited. Let's get this all marked up and then I can start getting things cut out and assembled. So if there's one thing that I'm learning with this van build, is that I quite literally have no idea what I'm doing, which has been interesting because I really thought that building out this van would be pretty close to like building out a house, and turns out it is not. But luckily we live in this really cool timeline where YouTube exists and you can basically find videos for quite literally anything. And one channel that I found, which I'm obsessed with the name of it, they're called Dirtbags on the Road. They built a really cool housing system for their EcoFlow power kit, and so I used their plans and modified them a little bit to fit mine. She cute, check this out. Nice, super profish. Woo! So I'm already noticing a common theme in this video, which is going to ring true, I think, for the rest of this build, but anything that requires me to do like a woodworking project for whatever reason took like no time at all. I literally built this entire housing system for the electrical system in a day in the shop. And just wait until you see how long the actual electrical system takes to put in, and I'm just gonna tell you right now, it wasn't a day. In the meantime though, I thought it might be fun to spend some time just like listening to shop sounds and being part of this build with me, because I genuinely enjoyed creating this electrical housing system for the EcoFlow, and so here we go. This thing is so tall. Well, it's also gonna be the bed, so let's not forget that. So once all of the building was done, I actually really wanted to add some edge banding to the exposed plywood edges to make everything look nice. And my other half actually was like, that's overkill. You don't need to do that for the van. But no, I'm sorry. He's wrong. I definitely would not have felt right having exposed plywood edges in this van, because I wouldn't have exposed plywood edges in the furniture I build for my house. And this is our house on wheels. So why wouldn't I just make everything look nice and neat, right? Yeah, there we go, that works. One thing I wish I did differently in hindsight was actually commit to a cabinet color before installing these boxes into the back of the garage, because at this point I had no idea what color I wanted the cabinets to be, so I just applied an interior finish to the inside of the cabinets. I actually used Total Wood Halcyon for the inside of the cabinets, which is kind of like my go-to for heavy duty stuff. It's what I used on my shop cabinet. Pre-stain your stuff before you install it, okay? Life tips from Sam. You'll thank me later, I swear. Ready to really wire this up with Dad this weekend and see how it goes. So if you've been here for a while, you'll know that I love talking about how walls and houses are not straight. Well, when you decide to turn your van into a house, let me tell you, those walls are definitely not straight. I had to get really, really creative with the ceiling because it's contoured. I ended up cutting a couple of notches into all of the boards that went into the ceiling in order to get them to contour to the ribs. And this was a challenge because even though a lot of the van came with these like pre-assembled threaded insert things, the ceiling did not, and I ended up having to use a lot of self-tapping screws and construction adhesive. And there is a big debate in the van community about self-tapping screws versus riv nuts versus plus nuts versus wing nuts. I don't know. I ended up using self-tapping screws and adhesive because either way you're kind of drilling a hole into your van anyway, so why not just do it the easier way? And I haven't had any issues, and there are professional builders out there who do it the same way who also haven't had any issues, so I'm gonna take it and run with it. Just waiting for Dad to get here, but in the meantime I am gonna keep on keeping on and keep on framing this van. Let's do it. So this was the no-nonsense day where Dad was coming over so we could start putting wires in the actual power system because the roughing of the wires was done, meaning like the wires were there but nothing is actually plugged into where it needs to go. And I was really excited about it. Now, while Dad focused on getting some of those wires inside wired up, I focused on getting wires outside of the van hooked up, including the shore power, which is how you can charge the van by plugging it in. I kind of got to put the shore power in a weird spot because of where all of the components are in the back of the van. Woo! Hello? Yeah. I plug that in. It's like a surge protector hooked up to an extension cord. And there's a light on! I just mostly am interested in seeing how this thing works. So full disclaimer, I purchased this entire electrical system out of pocket and it was not cheap. But what I will say is it was so worth it because everything was labeled really well and I knew exactly where to plug things in. And it came with like this really great diagram to make sure everything was working. So in hindsight, I'm kind of glad I spent extra money on something that's kind of an all-in-one system. So if something goes wrong on the road, I actually will know how to fix it instead of like staring at a million different DIY electrical components that I know nothing about. And at this point, it was kind of time to see if this thing actually would work. We just plugged the batteries in and turned on the shore power. Look at that. The batteries are charging. We actually did something right. This is why I wanted a plug-and-play system because I don't have, like, there's no guessing games here. So this is showing that everything's recharging right now. My batteries, if I kept them plugged in all night, it says would be charged in 7 hours, which is going down rapidly. So that's really good to know. I mean, nothing's hooked up to it yet, but we have power. Good job.
What?
So at this point, your girl was feeling confident. She was like, yeah, I got this. I don't need no help. I figured this all out on my own. It's so easy. It's plug and play. But then, you know, she tried to turn her fan on and it was like a whole other situation because, well, you'll see what happens in a second. Right now, we're plugged into shore. The only thing that's really plugged in is the fan, so I want to see if it works. Oh, heard something happen. We have power coming in. This isn't working. Ah, it's the fuse. Okay. So we need a higher fuse on the system. What's wrong? So this is saying that the fuse blew for the fan. So we got to replace that. So let's shut this off. All right, Bubba. Let's finish wiring up this van. Ready? Ready to wire up the fans? So after figuring out the whole fan sitch, which ended up working out, it was then time to add the rest of the power to make this thing fully off-grid. It's not a lot because it's a cloudy day. We got power. The amount of available time's going up too. Luckily, Bunaka Gear, who I've spoken about in some other videos, sent me solar panels for this van, and they sent me 400 watts of solar, and I actually was able to hook up each solar panel individually to the power system so that if one solar panel is in the shade and the other one's in the sun, I'm still able to get full max charge from the one in the sun. And I am super grateful to them for sending me both of those solar panels, because it actually ended up charging the rest of this battery system all on its own without me having to plug in the van or start the van. Also, at this point, it was time to wire up the AC portion of the van. There's AC and DC power we'll talk about in a sec, but AC was like wiring up a house, so your girl found her groove here. Moment of truth. Let's see if we wired this up correctly. It's charging! It's charging! We did it! Good job, boo boo! We did it! We did it! That means that all the rough wiring is done. Today is alternator cable install day, which I should have just asked Dad to do for me, because FaceTime Dad.
Hi, Dad.
Because I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know why anyone lets me do any of this unsupervised. In SparkNotes version, this whole conversation was me basically telling Dad how scared I was to cut this wire, because I literally only have one of them and it's an expensive wire, and I'm also really nervous about working with the truck battery because I haven't done that before. So yeah, this part freaks me out for some reason.
Yeah. You better get my cards on tape because you're gonna be working on them.
Okay, let me go do this, because the more I procrastinate on this, it's never gonna get done. Give me some emotional support. So I have this really cool toxic trait where when I'm intimidated by something, I just like put it off for as long as possible, like literally as long as humanly possible. And then that task ends up taking me, I don't know, like 30 minutes to do at most. And then I'm typically like mad at myself that I waited so long to do it. Yeah. That was this task right here. This is the part I'm the most nervous about, because I have to work with a car battery, and I'm not very well versed in car batteries, so this part makes me nervous. My dad got electrocuted when I was in high school. Like, we literally almost lost him forever, and so like anything electrical freaks me out. I know I've been freaking out like basically this whole video about electrical work, but like this is why I have this like fear of it, because my dad could not be here right now if it wasn't for like a literal miracle. So yeah, so don't make fun of me for being timid around electrical work. Alternator, solar, batteries. Oh, and short power. So with that, we should be good. Let's see if it works if I turn the van on. Got the reggae music going. It's working! I mean, nothing from solar because it's cloudy out right now. It's pulling over 60 amps of power. 4 minutes till full charge. I mean, it was already almost at full charge, but... Okay, we need to talk about this for a second.
Yes.
I did it!
I had faith in you.
I did it! Look!
Oh, good. You got it mounted?
Yeah, that's the part you're impressed by? Me mounting this thing? You should be impressed by the fact that I just did all that electrical work and didn't die. Man, I was so proud of myself this day, like probably the most proud I've been of myself in a very long time. Ugh, so much fun to get the electrical done. And literally, like, now that means this van is pretty much fully off grid. So next it was just time to kind of really finish up and clean up the wiring. Cannot forget the most important tool for this project. A bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. If Long Island had like an official mascot, it would probably be a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. Just saying. So, quick disclaimer. I know that we're spending a lot of time focusing on wiring and framing up this van. The reality is that a lot of these wires are kind of going to lead to nowhere for a little bit, at least until walls start going up, because a lot of these wires are for things like our appliances or our lighting, and I can't necessarily fully install those until walls are up and cabinets are up. I have a couple hours, and this part of what I want to do right now feels like a momentous occasion because we're going to be completely sealing up this electrical box. Top goes on. That really means we're almost done with electrical work. So I still need to build a door. Is where all of the bed frame is going to sit. So I actually am going to be attaching another piece here that's the same height, and then another piece here as just 2 extra supports for the next cabinet that's going to hold the top of the bed. But oh, so excited. I also officially decided what color I want to stain all the cabinetry, so that should be here in a couple days. We're moving and grooving. I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm super grateful for all of you for being here on this journey with me, because I feel like from a watching standpoint, everything I've done seems so boring and so small. So I'm really excited to kind of move on to the big stuff with you and celebrate the big wins that are about to happen. We are going on an adventure. So I want to tint those windows. It's really a problem that there's a lot of natural light coming in, because that's gonna be where we're living basically when we live in this van, and I'd like for as much privacy as possible. So let's get those tinted. Also, I forgot I have all this junk in the back, so like I have to figure out a way to pile it all into neat little piles before they get in here. That's a problem for future Sam in like 30 minutes. So I realized I was so excited to get the windows tinted that I forgot to show you what they look like tinted. They look great, actually. It actually made working on the inside a little more difficult because now it's like dark in there and I don't have lights set up yet, but the outside looks great, so that's cool. Anyway, I really wanted to give Vanna a proper garage for all of the cool things that she'll be toting around. And so, yeah, I built out a couple of shelves to go next to the electrical box, and I also actually built a box for the plumbing system as well. Well, you thought that I was really dreading the electrical portion of this project. Well, I think that I might actually be dreading the project that we have to do today the most. And the reason for that is because we have been working in this beautiful open layout with this amazing little runway of space this entire time. And today I actually have to officially box in this garage and build what is going to be the end of the bed, which means we are practically cutting this van in half today, and there goes my workflow. But here's the thing, in order for us to focus on plumbing, I have to put this thing up because I have to run the plumbing through it. All I'm waiting on is the plywood that needs to come in for these cabinet doors for the electrical system. And since I'm on a tight timeline, I figured why not just keep building while we wait for these doors to come in. If you're still here in this video, watching this far along, you're a real one. In fact, please let me know, comment below and let me know if you're still watching this far into the video, because I will be massively, massively impressed, and I love you so much. No, but actually, if you're still here, thank you so much for hanging on. I know a lot of you have been asking for longer videos. Hope this one's long enough for you. It is hard to sit down and do a voiceover for like an hour-long video, I'm not gonna lie, but this one actually went pretty quickly, which I mean is a testament to how much fun I'm having with this build. I officially chose a finish for all of the cabinetry in the van. I wish I chose it sooner because I'm gonna have to apply some of this vertically at some point, which is gonna be a challenge, but I am going to be using Rubio Monocoat. I pretty much use their finish on like all of my woodworking projects, but I've never actually used their pre-color collection. And the one that I'm using is called Intense Black. And basically it's a black stain that is still going to let me see a little bit of the wood grain in the panels that I chose, which is nice because I like to see the wood grain. I'm gonna get this on and then it has to dry overnight. And then tomorrow we're going to put Rubio Pure on top, which is like the actual finish that I'm able to like wipe down. And let's do this, friends. So excited. I really have a strong vision for this van, and I don't know if I can like fully explain how much putting stain on a piece of wood like helps the vision so much. This is really just starting to feel like an actual space instead of a van now, and it really just like changed everything to get a couple cabinets up and some coats of stain and finish. Like, I'm not gonna lie, really it was at this point that I was like, oh my God, like this is actually coming together and this is becoming something more than just a van. And I'm really excited about the next steps now. And I was so intimidated about the electrical system. I feel like I dragged my feet on it a little bit, but now that I'm in this portion of the project that I know I'm going to absolutely love and be able to include so much woodworking and carpentry into, I just cannot wait until the next steps. So that has been stained. We're gonna put a final coat on that. And yesterday I was feeling a little frisky and decided to stain the inside cabinets for the garage as well. So I'm gonna put a final coat on that too, and then we're gonna get that wall up there. Snug as a bug in a van. What happened to my nice open concept living space? Now it's a real tiny home. Screw it in. I'm also curious to see if it's square. Ooh, she's square. I'm actually shocked. I mean, I could not be happier with that. There's literally zero gapping. Okay, let's get some finish on these cabinets. This van feels so small now. I'm about to do something I should have done before I stained these cabinets because, you know, that's just the Sam way. I'm gonna add a shelf up here because the plywood came in for the cabinet doors and I really want to get all of the doors up for the garage at once. It's just gonna make life so much easier. But I don't know how big these have to be until I get the shelf up here that I wanna put for like helmets, shoes, just random cycling accessories. So we're gonna get the shelf up and then I'm gonna measure for the doors and get the door tracks on. I don't know if I'm more excited to have the garage done or to like have a proper end to this video yet. Either way, I'm excited and today's the day we're gonna finish this, so let's do it. So while I build these cabinets, I want to take a minute to just keep it very, very real with all of you. I am at a point in this creative process where I think that this is the coolest thing I've ever worked on in my entire life, and I'm very excited to get it done. Literally all I can think about is working on this van. Which is great because, you know, I'm finally feeling like now that I'm past the scariest part of doing the electrical, that I'm onto the stuff that I feel comfortable with. And because I feel comfortable with it, I actually think I could get this done in the next 10 weeks and get it ready for our big road trip. All this being said, I do want to peel back the curtain just a little bit. I've gotten a lot of comments on some of my other videos, van related and not van related, kind of being like, why is it taking so long? What's going on with the van? Do you have any updates? I thought you're on a tight timeline. And yes, all of that is accurate. I'm on a tight timeline for sure. But in full transparency, this build is costing a lot more money than I thought it was going to. And I actually financially planned this thing pretty closely for the past year. And the reality is that, yes, I know that there are sponsors attached to these van videos, but they are not even close to covering what some of these videos are costing in terms of materials for the van. Also, one other thought, yeah, there are definitely tasks that should be taking me like less than a day to do, but I'm also doing most of this by myself, and that includes like building, shopping for materials, filming, research. So especially the filming part, it makes every project take probably 3 to 4 times longer than it should. So a task that maybe is taking me 2 days on camera would probably take me 1 day without a camera, but then we wouldn't have a video, you know what I mean? But anyway, and all that being said, I do want to thank you all for being here because without you, I wouldn't be able to do any of what I'm doing right now, and I love it. Other than installing these cabinets, I didn't quite love that part of this project, but we'll get back at it. Oh, yes. Oh my God, yes. That was so annoying. Okay, we got one in. Now I gotta try to get the other one in. Listen, every new project is a learning experience, and what I learned here is that I probably should have planned these doors sooner and cut grooves into the plywood before assembling these boxes, because then I could have just made sliding doors that way, or I should have just cut these a little shorter to begin with. But the good news is I did make it work anyway, so there's that. It was so satisfying to see this entire garage area come together, and it really, really is making me so excited to complete the rest of this build now. There's still a lot of work to do, and I am beyond excited to do it. Cannot wait to get back in here and really start working on this thing and making it look like a real-life tiny home on wheels. Are you guys as excited as I am? It's not just me, right? It can't just be me. I swear there's a method to my madness with every single thing in this build. When you're building in a tiny space, you really have to keep space into consideration. And the reason that I made the cabinets for my electrical and my plumbing, which we'll, again, talk about next time, so tall is because I wanted to be able to put the bed on top of these two cabinets and have them basically act as my pseudo bed legs. The problem, however, is that nothing in a van is straight at all, which will provide its own challenges in about 10 seconds, but I just tried my best to cut the shape I could. Maybe I should put it up vertically first. You could do it. So close. Oh. I feel like in Austin Powers when he's trying to park that car. I think I'm gonna have to trim this. You see what I mean? Oh, yes. Now I just gotta get a second piece in. So once that piece was in, great, good job. 50% of the way done, Sam. But I also realized that I needed to add some insulation around the window because I didn't do this before. So I did that before getting into the second piece. Now, here's the thing. We're gonna talk about window trim later in this video. I had to get a little creative here after thinking that this would be easier than it actually was, which is the story of my life with this build. But yeah, I ended up actually insulating everywhere that I could before adding all of the bed pieces, which really was a good call. Also, I don't know why I thought getting the second piece in would be any easier than getting the first piece in. It was like literally just as challenging. Watching me struggle is just, it's a lot. I'm ready for lunch. I'm gonna get this piece in and then take a little lunch and coffee break and I got a bed. And I can lay all the way across. That's cool. Once that bed was installed, I decided I wanted to get a little crafty, and it's so funny because in the last video, I was so scared to do electrical work, and now I'm like an electrical fiend, and I was so excited to put a light in this garage. I actually low-key think I've created a monster because I can't stop wiring lights in this van. I'm a pro now. Remember when I used to be so scared of electrical? Now I'm scared of plumbing, and I'm a pro at electrical. Look at that garage. Being a consumer on the internet means that there are a lot of do's and don'ts and a lot of information out there, and you gotta figure out like what's right, what's wrong, what works for me, what doesn't work for me. And I'll tell you one thing that I know is right is that RV mattresses need ventilation. So these holes are to give a little bit of airflow to the mattress that I'm choosing for this bed because your girl doesn't want mold in her tiny home. I've actually had a lot of people ask me how I'm finishing these windows after seeing episode 1 of the van build, and Flarespace sent me these really awesome trim rings for the flares, but the reality is that because I had to hang the supports for the cabinet utility boxes so high, I unfortunately could not fit these flares, which was such a bummer because they're so easy to use and so cool. We got a window box. So now I'm gonna put a piece of plywood on the back and then cut out shape of the window, and check this out. I made a template of the window. I'm really happy because I made this a while ago and have just been squirreling it away. So I'm going to place this on top of a piece of plywood, trace it out and cut it out, and then I'm gonna make sure it fits because hypothetically it should fit before attaching it to the windowsill. It's a little haggard, but it's fine. I'll fix it with filler later. Ooh, other way. Other way. Okay. Yeah, there we go. I think that's gonna look cool. Once this is installed, gonna just score this and then like cut this back with the jigsaw and take this pocket hole out. But I think that that's gonna look cool and make it flush. Overall, these window boxes took me about 2 days in the shop to make, which is kind of a bummer because if I just was able to use the trim rings, then it probably would have taken way less time. But anyway, in true Sam fashion, we just do things differently here, and that's okay because actually I really do think these window boxes turned out really cool, and I was able to customize them with some really cool reading lights as well, and I cannot wait to make everything look pretty because it's finally coming along. Well, minus the plumbing, but just like let your girl have this one, okay? Just let her have it. I mean, come on, that's not the celebratory face of a girl who is scared of electrical. She grows up so fast. Sick. I am very happy with the way these windows turned out yesterday. And today I'm even happier because we can start closing up walls, like officially closing up walls today, which is so exciting. I thought that was gonna be one of the most difficult parts of the process, was figuring that out, but it felt really good to figure out and it wasn't that difficult. I'm still waiting on things to arrive for the bathroom, which is so frustrating, and it's eating into our timeline here, which is not ideal, so I'm definitely starting to freak out that this will not be done in time. Also reminding myself there's so many things out of my control right now that I literally can't do anything about. That being said, I think today's gonna be a great day because closing up these walls, to me, signifies like another room done in this van, and I'm very excited about it. Let's get started. In terms of timeline and life at this point in the process, there was still hope that we could get this done in time for nationals. I have never in my life been so excited to sit on a toilet in front of 300,000 people. Today we are tackling what has single-handedly tried to break me as a human being. Now, luckily, this portion of the project started with something I am very comfortable building, and that is a cabinet. And I wanted to build the cabinet for the sink before I built anything else in this space because I needed to be able to run some of the plumbing lines through a hot water heater, through the sink, and then into the shower wall. And I didn't want to actually run any of that plumbing until I knew where it was going. And at this point, we're just gonna enjoy me being blissfully ignorant and thinking that this is gonna go well, because in just a few seconds, this is not gonna go well from the jump. What I'm about to do is so insignificant, but it feels so important and so big to me because I'm about to actually put a panel on this wall, which means I am kind of officially starting to close up the walls now, which is like wild. So I'm not worried about what this looks like. I got a special plan for it later in the process. We're just gonna get this up. Actually, first drill a hole for this wire and then do this. Ah! Well, as if this project and everything hasn't been stressful and complicated enough, I'm pretty sure I just broke my camera. Screen shattered. The freaking lens isn't like lensing. It like gets stuck. I mean, the good news is I have like a plan on it to fix it, but the bad news is if I send it in, I'm gonna have to find another camera to record with. No use crying over a broken camera right now because I literally only have like 2 hours to get some stuff done. So we're gonna keep working. I'm gonna put the camera on and hope that it actually records the next part of this project, and I'll record on my phone as backup, but like, come on. I need emotional support. Fix me. Took a little breather from building out the shower because my camera was not cooperating, but I got good news and bad news. The good news is that I actually purchased an accident protection plan with that camera, so future Sam is thanking past Sam for that very wise decision. But the bad news is that I had to send the camera in to get fixed, so I am going to be recording a ton of this project now on my old iPhone, so hope the footage looks okay. I'm feeling better that the camera can be fixed. Let's get back to building out this like bathroom shower stall sitch. I'm really excited to see it come together. Let's do it. Check this out. My brother is the best. Jordan, the one who edits my videos, who's also in the Air Force, he knew my camera was broken and he sent me his camera to use. So now I don't have to film this on my iPhone, which makes me very happy. So let's try to figure out how to use this thing and go through some growing pains with a new camera and then get back to work. I really just want to finish framing out the actual shower / bathroom stall today, and then we'll call it a day. Yeah! So we'll talk about this a bit more in depth in a second, and I thought, of course, my camera was recording me build the shower stall, and it wasn't, but I started building the shower stall and waited for my toilet to arrive before I could do the rest, which we'll talk about now. I have never in my life been so excited to sit on a toilet in front of 300,000 people. Good morning, friends. So my brain is on overdrive today. I woke up very motivated to work on this van. I have a to-do list of about 56 things, but I think we're only gonna have time to get like 2 of them done today, so we're gonna curb our expectations a little bit here. As you can see, we have a toilet, which is great because this is exactly what I was waiting on to get here. In order for me to finish framing out the shower, I needed the dimensions for the toilet because my goal is that I really want the toilet to be able to slide into the wall and under a bench when we're not using it, because the shower area is already kind of tight. Okay, now that I'm not talking to the camera anymore, we can actually talk about what's happening here. So in order to build this shower stall, I took a bunch of 2x3s, I drilled some pocket holes in them, I basically made freestanding walls, attached those walls to the sides of the van, and then closed up those walls using plywood to make a shower stall. At the moment in this build, I thought it'd be really cool to build a bench so I could hide the toilet in when we're not using it, and then put a hatch in the wall in order to then like pull the toilet out on drawer slides when we needed to use it to save space in the shower area and to just make it look a lot cleaner. I'm not gonna lie, spoiler alert, in hindsight, I kind of wish I didn't do it. We're going to talk about why this particular decision that Sam made for this project threw me for a loop for the rest of this Forsaken project throughout this video, but for now, let's enjoy me celebrating the fact that I built a bench. Got everything that we wanted to done today. Wild, this humidity. I need to make sure that this chair can go back far enough for Chris to drive, because right now it is like literally touching the bench. So I may need to shorten this, which would suck because the fit is kind of perfect, but I'll figure that out when he is home and can try to drive in it. In the meantime though, framing for the shower is pretty much done. This wall I'm gonna leave alone until Dad gets here on Wednesday, because we're gonna be actually running plumbing to the shower and to the sink. And really, once the plumbing's done, honestly, this thing is gonna go so fast. Dad's here, time to get in trouble. Yeah, we're having a day. I think we need to just like figure out some stuff and then come back on a different day. Actually, he just ran to his truck, so while he figures out some stuff, I'm gonna drill some holes. Let's get something done, right? Remember in the last clip when I was like, this is gonna be so easy, it's gonna go so fast? Yeah, I completely jinxed this project because on this day that Dad was here, nothing was going right with plumbing. We could not get anything to work. What are you throwing at me?
Nothing's going right.
Nothing is going right. Oh my God, you almost took me out. So while I kind of left Dad to figure out what plumbing fittings were missing or not fitting, I decided to move forward with closing up the shower and doing something productive, or else I was gonna lose my mind. We then decided it'd be best to regroup the next day. So of course it's pouring outside on the day that Dad and I want to work on the van. So I pulled the van up like as close as possible to the garage. It's like literally almost touching the garage. And I did that just so we don't have to really work in the rain. So Dad should be here in hopefully the next hour or two. I'm actually gonna get started wiring up some lights in the van because it is dark in there and I'm tired of working in the dark. One of the things I love about working with my dad the most is we're really good at dividing and conquering, and we're really good at each having like our own task that we're really good and quick at doing. So while he tackled plumbing, I started getting everything together to put some lights in the van. I really thought electrical was gonna be the pain. I think it's the plumbing that's been the pain. Nothing really like fits together. We've had to find these like strange connectors and adapters and reducers and like all these things for the plumbing, so
Try to MacGyver something.
we're MacGyvering away. I'm so happy Dad is here. I'm literally at the point where I'm like, yeah, I'll go handle electrical, Dad. You've got the plumbing. All right, let's get back at it. I got more lights to get up. I just want to take a moment to talk about this. First of all, can you believe I did that? I can't, and I did it. But the thing that is the most exciting is It is like fully running off grid right now. How crazy is that? And it's not really using that much power. Like all these lights on are only using 16 watts. If I were to just run lights and nothing else, like we'd be solid. 87% battery. I'm really excited. I even got one in the shower. So I ordered the hatch for the toilet door 3 weeks ago because shipping time was supposed to be 5 days, but it's finally here. So today I am going to dry fit this thing into the van. I also have to do some work to the framing in order to fit the drain for the sink into the drain for the shower, and then therefore into the gray water tank, which is going to be mounted on the bottom of the van. So Dad's actually going to be stopping by after work today to help me with that. There's lots of stuff that needs to get done, and I'm really starting to worry about the timeline because we're at that point in the process where like I can't get to the next step of the process until the step before is done. Keeping it real, up until this point, I was confident that I was getting this van done in time for nationals. And then once plumbing kind of started giving us a hard time and I had to start waiting weeks for things to arrive, I really started like low-key panicking that I wasn't going to make this deadline that I wanted to for this big trip that we had to take. Dad's here.
Yeah, big deal.
And he didn't let me film this.
Nope.
But he drilled a hole through my floor. That's where the drain's going to go for the plumbing.
Yeah, watch this. Was that dog poop I was laying in?
No, that's paint.
Okay.
You're through. So while Dad's working, sorry, I have like strawberry in my teeth because remember the small garden I made in a day? We have strawberries coming in. So let me show you the mess I'm making over here. The hatch door is a little bit too big for the shower, and I custom ordered it to like the actual dimensions I needed, and it arrived too big. So like that's so frustrating, and basically if I want to order another one, it'll take another 3 weeks to get here, and I don't have that kind of time. So I have to now like make this work. So I've kind of rebuilt this shower wall a little bit, and then I had to rebuild the bench a little bit. So I'm gonna turn the camera around and show you. It's a real mess right now because I just keep having to like put this thing in and retrofit it. But I had to rebuild this wall. I added some additional bracing, and I had to cut the opening for this door bigger. The other thing that I had to do today, because that is a different size than what I ordered, is rebuild this bench. It's funny because like I really thought the electrical was gonna be the thing that broke me on this project, but so far it's been the plumbing and the shower. So it's just like there's like these little things that are eating into my schedule, and I thought I was gonna be on time, but now I'm running behind time because of how long I had to wait for that hatch and now all the things that I have to do to fix it. Dad and I were just finishing up for the day, and there's like a freak thunderstorm outside. I'm taking this as an opportunity to check for leaks in the van, to be quite honest. And since we're hunkering down till it passes, check this out. We got plumbing lines in the shower. You're doing great. Yeah. Now he's really stuck with me because it's raining out. We got the AC on, we got the fan, we got the lights.
I'm washing my car in the driveway.
The only thing we're missing is the kitchen. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I can't come up too high on the drawer, but we're gonna have ourselves a hidden toilet. Let's go. Comfy. He's drilling up from the bottom of the van just to make a little pilot so we know exactly where the drain needs to go. Now once the interior plumbing was done, it was time to add the gray water tank to the bottom of the van. Hello down there.
Huh?
Hello down there. So for those who don't know, the gray water tank holds all of the wastewater from the sink and the shower runoff, and we won't need it for the toilet because the toilet is a vacuum sealed toilet. And once Dad was done with his exterior work, I tapped in for some more exterior work on my end. It's officially hot season, so I think that it's time to put the awning up on the van. As per usual, I want to give lots of love to my friends over at Nunaka Gear Co. for sending over this awning. It has been a game changer. One down, two more to go. There's a lot of poop on top of this van. Claims that it's hot and decides to wear jeans and high tops. Makes sense to me. So while this awning was a really easy install, it was heavy and definitely required a helping hand. So kudos to my friend who wanted to come help with this build, who's very camera shy and didn't want to be on camera, but that's okay. Honestly, Unaka gear has come in clutch for so many parts of this project, and this awning being one of the biggest ones, because now I'm able to set my tools up underneath it and work outside of the van, even on super hot days. So, like, serious game changer. Highly recommend. And while it was nice to take a break from the plumbing portion of this project to do something else, I did have to go back to the plumbing portion of this project and cut the countertop out for the sink cabinet so that I could install the sink, which honestly wasn't that bad. It was like installing a sink in a house. And quick note about the design of the van, because I've actually gotten this question from a few people. I did decide to keep all of the plumbing on one side of the van, which is why I'm putting the sink next to the shower instead of putting the sink across from the shower in the kitchenette area. Since this is my first van build, I did not want to overcomplicate things, and putting all of the plumbing on one side of the van means that if anything leaks or goes wrong in the future, I can very easily fix everything because it's all running on the same cold water line. And speaking of helpful things, it would have been really helpful to pre-stain all of these pieces before hanging them. I'm not gonna lie, but you know, I keep not learning my lesson in this build, so here we go, staining things as I go, yet again. Good thing I'm like teeny tiny human. Here we go. I feel so much better that that's done. Sink is in, things are painted. Now I just gotta wait for Dad to come back tomorrow so we can finish the plumbing in the shower. In doing my van research, a lot of people told me that I would probably regret having a shower in the van, and although I haven't used it yet, my reasoning behind this was because we travel for so many races for Chris that it would be nice for him to have a place to shower after his races instead of having to like drive home sweaty. The one caveat being though that because I had to put all of the plumbing underneath the shower, I did have to raise the floor a little bit, and he stood in it the other day and like just barely fits. So I'm really hoping he actually uses the shower because it was a lot of work. Guys, don't worry, he's here.
Who?
You.
What? Where?
Dad's working on some plumbing. I have to rewire this switch because it's not compatible with what I need it to be compatible with, of course. So I gotta hook up this. That's the last thing on my to-do list today. At this point, Dad and I were beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel because today was the last day that we were really working on actual plumbing stuff in terms of like getting water to fixtures. So while Dad finished the lines in the shower, I worked on the electrical for the water heater, and we kind of divided and conquered, and then it was time to test everything out. Here's what we're looking at. This is my infill. It's going down this pipe. Now it's filling up. And once it gets like a little higher, we're gonna start turning on the pump and some faucets and seeing if everything works, right?
Nope.
What do you think?
Nope.
We sprung a leak. We have water! Oh, yeah, it's wet. We have water? I could shower in here?
Those are quick too.
Yay! And we're good to go. The shower looks like it has no leaks at least.
That's hot.
So the good news is that the plumbing in the shower is perfect, which means that I can actually start closing up the wall, which has been the thing that's been holding me up this entire time. So I'm gonna start doing that hopefully tomorrow. And then we have a couple of leaks. We have one under the sink and we have one in the water pump. We just have two fittings that we have to replace that weren't quite great. We just got like 2 duds in a couple of the packages, which happens sometimes. So those are easy fixes that I can actually tackle on my own. So I'm gonna take care of that. But I'm just really happy that the majority of the plumbing is done. So can't wait to start closing up that guy, hopefully ASAP. And that's next time I'll see you, friends. So bye. This is just a little behind the scenes fun fact for all of you, but whenever you watch a video, at least recent videos, where I start the video doing a lot of talking to camera and vlogging and hanging out with you on camera, and then all of a sudden in the video, for the rest of the video, you like don't see me doing that, that's a pretty good sign that I am so over the project, honestly. And yeah, this is about to be one of those. It's gonna be fairly quiet for the remainder of this video because it was at this point that I just really needed this project to be over. I was dreading the project. I was coming to this realization that I wasn't quite sure this thing was gonna get done, and we'll talk about timeline and updates. And side note, in terms of the process of me putting this shower pan together, I kind of just did this the same way that I would do a shower pan in a house, and the reality is that probably wasn't the best way, but you live and you learn. I would say, like, you know, next van build I'll do it differently, but right now, after doing the plumbing portion of this build, no one's convincing me to do a second van build, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, after adding the shower walls, after closing up the floor, after doing all the things I would do in a normal bathroom project, it was time to waterproof the entire shower stall, which I did using RedGuard. This is so important. You really don't want any water leaking in your camper van. And then once that was done, it was time to add the shower panels. Legit though, the shower panel system I used was actually really awesome. It is made for residential showers. They are essentially these large sheets that you can glue onto your existing tile or your wall in order to make your shower waterproof and make it pretty. And in a normal application, these things are super easy to install because you're working with straight walls, but because the walls in this van are not straight, in fact, nothing in a van is straight, I did end up making templates using foam board insulation that I was then able to transfer to the panels before cutting them out and attaching them to the wall. And this was so important because honestly, as cool as these panels are, they are not cheap, and I only had one extra and did not want to mess it up. And yes, I'm wearing sunglasses inside because I could not find my safety glasses, and these things essentially throw teeny tiny pieces of plastic at your face when you cut them. While I wanted to be really excited that the shower panels were up, there was still so much work to be done, including but not limited to a shower floor, adding a door, waterproofing everything, adding trim to make everything look nice. So there was still a lot of work to be done. In fact, I think from the day I started the shower panels to the day that I finished the shower was easily over a week of work, which doesn't really translate in a YouTube video because it goes pretty quickly. Instead, I used these lightweight mosaic tiles so that I could still slope the floor so that when the water is on, it'll drain. Although in hindsight, I realized that if I'm parked on a place that is not level and I'm parked on like any sort of incline, I don't really know how the slope I made is supposed to work, which is why I mentioned that I made a lot of mistakes in this portion of the project. And yeah, so we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna have to check in with you guys after our first camping trip to see if this thing is actually gonna drain the right way or not. I will say though, the mosaic tiles came out great and I think that they look awesome. Oh, and while I'm brain dumping and talking your ear off during this part of the project where I decided that the camera was my worst enemy, I wanted to talk quickly about the weight of this entire project. I've gotten a lot of questions about being conscious about the weight of this build out, and I'm basically keeping track of the weight by the materials that I'm buying because most of this build out is plywood, so it has been kind of easy to keep track of how heavy the build is, although I am going to take it to a weigh station once I'm done because I am curious to see how much weight I added. But in terms of like tile versus a shower pan, if I used more of like a fiberglass or a plastic shower pan, yes, it definitely would have been more lightweight. But adding these lightweight tiles actually, I don't really think added too much weight to the van because they literally weigh less than if I were to just put more plywood, if that makes sense. In fact, a really big reason why I haven't closed up the walls yet is because I wanted to save some weight throughout the van by not closing up the walls before I put the counters and the cabinets in. And then I also didn't really want to add too much framing if I didn't have to. I'm kind of adding as I go. Also, look how stupid proud I am of my dumb toilet drawer box. But speaking of closing up walls, I decided that I wanted to close up some walls at this point because I was tired of looking at wires, and the more I look at wires, the more things I decide to wire up in this van, so I think it's time that we close the walls and leave well enough alone. It is actually pretty amazing what closing up walls in this van has done for not just the overall aesthetic of the van, but also for my personal well-being. And while I wanted to just take a break forever from doing the shower, there were a couple things I still needed to add, like trim, for instance, and also a shower door. And the shower door really did pull together the entire look of the shower. I will say the method of applying this thing that came from the factory feels a little weird. Like it literally just attaches to the wall using like a heavy duty double-sided tape, which I'm not quite sure I love yet, but we'll see how it goes. The good news though is that once that shower door was installed, really all that was left was some like little nitty-gritty finishing touches, such as getting the rest of the trim on, adding some stain to those exterior shower walls, and also making sure that my pride and joy, the toilet drawer, would fit. I did not go through all this work in this waiting for a toilet door hatch for this secret toilet Murphy door thing to not work. But luckily it fit, which was a great positive way to round out this plumbing portion of this project. Man, I have so many thoughts. So let's sit down and talk about them, and also talk about whether or not I am still making this super important deadline for nationals. It's so funny because in hindsight, I really thought that the electrical portion would be the thing that just destroyed me. I can confidently tell you that it was the plumbing section that did that. So that being said, let's keep it real here. With all of the setbacks, plus all of the work that I had to do, plus like waiting for things to get here before I could do the next step, plus literally getting an entire bedroom done in this van before the plumbing was even done, we're looking at about 9 weeks of work. So what does that mean for like nationals, Sam, since you were on a tight timeline for nationals? Well, I have good news and bad news. The bad news is we making it to nationals. In fact, nationals has come and gone. Nationals is done at this point. But the good news is we have a national champion, you guys. So even though the van didn't make it to nationals, we still made it to nationals, and Chris left nationals with a national championship. So kudos to him. I'm so excited for him. I'm so proud of him. Leave him some congratulatories in the comments because I know that he would love that. But yeah, I am so pumped. And although I'm kind of like sad that I didn't hit my goal of reaching nationals with this van, really all that's left in this van is to get the kitchen done and to do some final touches and make sure that it looks pretty. Friends, this has been a wild journey. And I'm not just talking about building cabinets. Like building cabinets is the thing that comes easy to me. So spoiler alert, the kitchen was actually a lot of fun to build. I'm talking about the fact that we turned this tin can of a cargo van into what is really starting to resemble a tiny home. This really has been the most challenging yet rewarding project I have ever worked on, and I've actually been really looking forward to this part of the project where I get to build the kitchen because this is the part that seems easy. But I'm not gonna lie, getting close to the end of this project is kind of starting to make me a little sad. Listen, when I started this project, I was like, how hard could this be? It's only going to take me like 5 months. I've built all of these things I'm about to build in houses. Building it in a van is just like the same thing but tinier. And well, here we are, closing in on like month 7-ish, 8-ish of this build. And yeah, I can confidently say this is the hardest thing I've ever done, but also kind of the coolest. Why do these projects take you so long, Sam? I don't know. So what are we doing, Sam? Let's get technical. Well, basically we're building a bunch of boxes, which you know I love to build, and we're building them to fit inside of a tin can that has absolutely zero amount of straight walls, so that's cool. Listen, I keep reminding myself that these challenges are part of what makes this van build so rewarding for me, because every single step of the way has forced me to really slow down and figure things out creatively. And as honestly, as stressful as this has been, it also kind of feels like home, and even if that home is currently like 100+ square foot tin can on wheels. And speaking of small homes, fun fact, my first apartment was a 325 square foot apartment in New York, so I learned a lot about saving space and getting creative in that apartment, and I'm using all of those things I learned on this build. And I know I keep comparing this camper van build to working on a house, but it really is such a similar process. Like for instance, using this empty space in between the studs of the van to create a shelf for things like laptops and other office items, since I will be also using this van to travel a little bit and work on the road. It's essentially the same concept as using the empty spaces between the studs of your home to create a built-in shelf. I really do feel like once you live in a small space, it's really hard to see anything as anything other than a multi-purpose way to add even more functional space to the place that you live in. If that makes sense.
Did you see that?
Oh, and P.S. if there's one really great positive to this build, it's that I am now addicted to wiring things up.
It looks so good.
Yeah, don't worry, we'll be using that technique in my house and on a big project very, very soon, so stay tuned. So of course, this entire DIY project wouldn't have been a true DIY project without at least one Frankenstein moment, aka me putting together all of these plywood panels on the walls. And basically these walls at this point were just a patchwork of seams, and they were kind of pretty from afar, but up close, like, it needed some help. So I tapped into my friends over at Total Boat. They sent me some fairing compound to blend everything together, and it honestly felt like weirdly therapeutic and also weirdly symbolic, because this entire build's been full of messy moments, but as I was smoothing things out, it kind of hit me that, like, this is kind of what this whole project's been about a bunch of rough spots slowly coming together into something that feels really whole. And like when you make a mess or you do something hard, you figure it out, you fix it, and eventually it all kind of starts to blend together and come together. And yeah, I guess that's kind of what this whole project's been about. Taking a bunch of rough parts and rough spots and watching them slowly come together and blend into something that finally feels like a complete vision. I don't know, maybe all those hours of sanding actually have made me a very reflective person. But don't worry, I still actually absolutely hate sanding. Anyway, who's cutting onions? Well, I will soon be on this brand new countertop that I installed in my van. Ugh, I'm obsessed. Side note, also at this point, I felt like it was really important to hide the actual toilet that is like, I don't know, 2 feet away from my kitchen. So I did use the leftover countertop that I cut off to make a small bench top that folds open so I can still access the toilet if I need to and also have some storage. How's that for being crafty about space?
Yeah!
Oh, I would call today a pretty successful day. I am very happy with what I got done. The only thing I didn't get done today was cutting the stovetop into the counter. I'm going to spend the rest of the afternoon just like cleaning up, doing some little maintenance stuff on the inside, de-dusting it, getting the mattress in, just things that are gonna make camping in here a little more comfortable. I'll circle back in a little bit. We'll go on this journey together. So you know when people share a story and they start the story by saying, they say, ... and you're like, who is they? Well, I'm going to start this story by saying, they say that the kitchen is the heart of the home. I don't know who they, as I'm doing air quotes that you can't see, is, but you know what? I honestly believe them. Whoever said that, I believe you. Because honestly, working on the kitchen of this van has really just made my heart grow 10 sizes bigger. P.S. This is my first time trying this like faux lime wash finish technique, and I'm pretty sure I'm obsessed, and I think we're gonna use it in the house at some point. So if you're interested in a tutorial for that, let me know in the comments, because it was a lot of fun. And finishing up the walls also meant it was time to finish up the countertops. And again, I reached out to my friends at Total Boat for this because they make this Halcyon varnish that is, I'm doing the chef's kiss thing, like you see me, it's chef's kiss. I literally use this on all of my projects. I'm honestly obsessed with it. It's really user-friendly and you can build the coats pretty quickly and get the finish that you want on your piece that you're working on in a relatively short time, and it looks awesome. So I highly recommend it. And bonus points for drying quickly, because after doing a bunch of coats in one day, I was able to get the cooktop in the next day, which really felt like a big personal win. There were a lot of moments in this van build that I felt very down on myself, and getting to this point in the process where every single part of this kitchen build was just something that felt like home to me made all of that go away. Like, I almost forgot how horrible doing plumbing in the bathroom was for like 5 minutes of this build, because the kitchen just went so smoothly, because these are the things I'm comfortable doing. But maybe that's why I'm so addicted to doing projects in the first place, because that feeling of completing something that felt super challenging is kind of unmeasurable, for being honest. Well, today's an exciting day because everything that I stained yesterday is dry, which means today's the day that we get to finish the kitchen in the van. I'm so excited. I feel like at this point in my DIY carpentry woodworking journey, I could probably build drawer boxes and cabinet boxes in my sleep. But one thing that I cannot build in my sleep is this cool shelf that's gonna have a light in it. Guys, I wasn't kidding when I said that I'm like literally addicted to wiring things up now thanks to this van build. For some reason, I thought, you know, it would be really cool to put a shelf in this kitchen instead of a cabinet. I know cabinets have a lot more storage space, but it just already feels so tight in this entire van that I really wanted to have more of open shelving so I can like put things out and see things when we're parked. But yeah, I decided to just be extra and wire up a light on the inside of it. And I'm honestly thoroughly impressed with my skills. I'm not gonna lie. If you asked Sam 8 months ago to do this, she would have been like, oh heck no, absolutely not. But Sam now is like, I'll wire up anything. You want me to wire up a floating shelf? I got you. You want me to wire up an entire house? How hard could that be? I really think that I've created a monster. But hey, that's the wild part of this entire journey. Like 1 month, I'm hating life, questioning my life choices, wondering why I ever decided to put a shower inside of a van. And then the next day I am on cloud 9, just adding little puck lights to the underside of a floating shelf and pretending I'm a master electrician. You know what I mean? It's just a wonderful roller coaster of emotions. When I started this van build, I thought it would just be like another project, a fun challenge to tackle, one that I was like, you know what, I've never done this before, let's see how it goes. But it's honestly become so much more than that over these past 8 or so months. Like this has taught me so much patience and problem solving, and honestly now being able to look at walls and cabinets and a kitchen that I built and designed and made with my own hands in a cargo van, I just wouldn't trade a single moment of the chaos that got me here, to be real. And honestly, with this big event that I'm so excited about just around the corner, I can finally say that I'm actually truly confident that this tiny home is going to be ready for its first big adventure. I knew I wanted something super lightweight for the ceiling and was so excited when Slats.co offered to send over these flexible panels for install. They were super easy to install. I just had to get a little creative with my own framing. Hit a little bit of a roadblock here. Let me show you what I'm looking at. Back here, I wanted to originally follow kind of like this ridge line down here, but if I do that, then it's like lower than the AC unit, which is visually gonna look really weird. So I think I have to go get another piece that runs from there all the way across, so I can also screw that up so that when I put the cover on the AC, it doesn't look strange. So I'm gonna go make like my 665th Home Depot trip of this van right now and go pick up supplies, and then I think I'm gonna start fresh tomorrow because I want to like think about how I want to do this. If anything, maybe I'll get those supports up tonight and then finish this tomorrow, but we're moving. We're gonna have a ceiling by the end of this week. We don't have a choice because Maker Camp is next week, and me and Danny are camping out in this van, and I would really like for it to look cute. So once I figured out the framing thing, these slats went up so fast, and because they're lightweight, I was actually able to handle most of this project myself. I'm also absolutely obsessed with the color. They offer these in a bunch of different finishes, but going with the natural finish for this build, I feel like was just perfect. It matches so well and makes it feel so warm. Had to finish the ceiling today because I ran out of sunlight. There's still a couple of gaps I need to kind of fix. There are some gaps where the seams meet up and I want to cover them. So I actually took a leftover slat wood panel and ripped down a couple of the slats into trim pieces, and I already dry fit one and I like the way it looks, so let's make the ceiling look finished. I could not be happier with the way that the ceiling of this van looks. This was really the point in the project where it stopped feeling like a van and started feeling like a tiny home. So shout out again to Slats.co for sending me these amazing slat wood boards. Please go check them out. I actually cannot wait to use this product again on a future accent wall for sure. Today's an exciting day because today we're putting the last cabinet in the van. I'm so excited. I've been waiting 9 months for this. So I made a template with some scrap wood of the shape I need for the upper cabinet, and I'm going to take this template and trace it onto the wood that I actually am using, which is going to be interesting because I don't have a lot left and I refuse to buy another sheet of plywood for this project. So we're going to make it work. Wish me luck. Let's do this. Legit, I feel like I was never gonna get to this part of the project where we're doing final touches, aka like literally the only cabinet left in this entire build. But there was no way to really install this until the ceiling was in, so here we are. Just a little itty bitty storage cabinet above my itty bitty sink. Just a little bit of build context behind this cabinet. I pretty much built it like every other cabinet I built in this space. The only difference is it is the only wall cabinet that's going up, so I did have to kind of create the top piece to contour to the back wall and the top, which I created that template for. I did it the same way that I created the templates for the shower walls. And since space is pretty limited, I actually decided to opt for sliding doors on this one, just like I did for those back cabinets that were housing the electrical and the plumbing systems. I haven't fully decided on if I want to do hardware here yet or not. I just left the doors plain for now. We'll see how it goes. It's something I could always add in the future. Maybe like a small little knob or something, but it's like not really on my radar right now. They work just fine the way they are. But it definitely is nice to have a little bit of closed storage above the sink. I did get a little bit of questioning about why I chose an open shelf on the other side. And the reality is that most of the stuff that we have in the camper van just kind of only goes out when it's parked. And it's really nice to have the open shelving because I can see what we've packed and what we need and what we can use. And I kind of keep like mugs up there or things for the kitchen up there. And it's nice to have it all out in the open. But yes, I also heard you and also agree that closed storage in a small space is a lifesaver. And so that's why I kind of added this little cabinet as well, so we can add a couple of things in there or keep things tucked away when we're driving so they don't fall out. But with that in mind, the big stuff was done and it was kind of just time for the little things like adding some shelving brackets and some extra handles and whatever else we needed to hang things or store things or just make it functional. But with that, this build was basically done. 9 months of my life finally wrapped up in one little pretty bow, and I cannot wait to show you what this cargo van started as and what it looks like now, because this transformation is wild. So buckle up, friends. Here she is, the beautiful Vanna White in all her glory. I cannot believe that this tiny home started out as a literal cargo van, and I am the one who turned said cargo van into an actual tiny home. It is such a dramatic transformation, and I could not be prouder. Of all the projects I've done, not just on this channel, but since I was 15 and learned how to do carpentry work with my dad, this one is by far the hardest project I have ever done, but also it might be the most rewarding, I'm not gonna lie. And I know this project was a little different than things that I've had on my channel in the past, but I was really craving something different. I was craving some sort of passion project. I was craving something I've never done before, and here she is in all her glory, and I just could not be more excited about this project and all of the possibilities and adventures that it's going to open for us as a little family. And I know this compilation is really long, so if you're still here, shout out to you. Let me know in the comments if you've made it this far. And if you have, man, am I so grateful for you. I'm just so grateful for anyone who wanted to buckle up and join me on this journey, to be quite honest. And listen, there's a lot that we covered in this series and in this video, and there is still a lot more to cover. So without further ado, friends, I think right now might be a good time to talk about what I spent on this build. Let me grab my notes, I can't remember offhand. This is my quick disclaimer. We're gonna be talking about real money here, and I know that the conversation surrounding money can be very awkward, but I always promise to keep it transparent with you, so that's what we're gonna do here. And just because I spent this much money on my actual van build doesn't mean that you need to, but we're going to talk about that a little more at the end of this budget breakdown. That being said, let's talk about the van itself. So I actually decided to buy this van used, and when I put together a budget for my van, I wanted to spend a maximum of about $20,000, and I immediately went over budget. In full transparency, I financed this used Ford Transit van for $31,980. So that's already like almost $12,000 over my budget. However, I could not find a reliable, safe, upgraded Ford Transit with a high roof and an extended back in a $20,000 budget. It just wasn't happening. I just decided to finance it. Here's the catch. Even though I financed this van for $12,000 over budget, it still was not exactly what I needed. So let's talk about the exterior upgrades. So when I talk about exterior upgrades, I am talking about flares, roof rack, awning, upgraded wheels and tires. All of those things combined, it came out to $5,984. Let's talk about interior costs. There was a lot of work that happened on the interior of this van, so we're gonna break it down a little bit. The first that I tackled was the boring stuff. So we're talking sound dampening, insulation, framing, and flooring. And that total cost for that came under $1,000 at $942 in total. Now that cost does not include other lumber for this build. And what I mean by other lumber is all the plywood for my cabinets, the butcher block tops, the plywood to close up the walls. But if we are including that price, then the total price for those separate items were $1,418. Next up, electrical. Electrical was the most expensive thing in this entire build. It honestly hurt my heart how much money I spent on it, I'm not gonna lie. The electrical costs include the power hub and the batteries, solar panels, wiring, outlets, switches, lights, and also the shore power hookup. And altogether, that cost was $9,959. Woof. And while we're in this garage, let's also talk about plumbing. So for plumbing, I am specifically talking about the water tanks, which I have a clean water tank up here and a gray water tank below the van. I'm also talking about all of the PEX and the tubing that I use. We're talking about the water heater, and I'm also going to include the sink hardware, and all of the fittings needed to tie everything together, and also the water pump. Surprisingly, I feel like I just listed off 1,000,001 things, but that all came to $705, which seems wild considering I literally just admitted to the entire internet that I just spent almost $10,000 on an electrical system for my off-grid tiny home. Okay, now that plumbing cost did not include the actual bathroom, so let's talk about it. So for the bathroom, we are focusing on the toilet, the shower fixtures, the shower walls, the tile for the shower floor, and the drain. And the total for this entire tiny bathroom was $1,860. Which, like, I'm literally renovating a bathroom in my house right now, and you cannot find that price for a bathroom anywhere. So I think I did pretty good. Next up is the ceiling, which was $898. And again, thank you so much for Slats.co for providing me with these amazing lightweight ceiling panels. They really are so rad. And yes, I know that I got them for free for this video, but I do want to be very transparent about what they cost because I promised that I would. And while we're here, let's talk about appliances. So appliances include my stovetop, my fridge, ew, mayo, and of course my coffee maker. It's the most important thing in this entire van. And the total for that is $1,097. And last but not least are final touches like hardware. So what do I mean by hardware? I mean things like drawer pulls, drawer slides, cabinet hinges, that really handy handle that's on the side of the cabinet for when you walk in the van and don't want to eat you know what. It also includes the insulated privacy covers for the windows and the swivel seat for the passenger seat, and all in all, the total for that is $513. That leaves us with a grand total renovation budget for this project, and I'm gonna read it off the screen. Buckle up, baby. Is $23,376. Listen, I know this is a lot of money. Like, trust me, I know I put myself in debt for this. And I also really do have to continually thank my sponsors because my sponsors are amazing and they did send me a lot of things for this build in exchange for videos. Even though I'm saying $23,000, the reality is I did spend less than that because I am including the price of the free product in the total renovation. But listen, I want to be transparent about this process. And speaking about transparency and full transparency, if I didn't have those sponsors who sent me these like awesome things for this van, I most likely, in fact, there's like a high chance of likelihood that I would have chosen other things to fit into a budget to go into this build. So like, yeah, I'm really grateful for my sponsors for working with me and making sure that I had like really quality stuff in this tiny home. So that leads me to this point. There are 1,000,001 ways that you can turn a cargo van into a tiny home. You do not have to do it the way that I did it. All this being said, I do just want to say how grateful I am for all of you for following me on this journey. I know that this isn't typically what we do on my channel, but this has been a passion project of mine for so long, and I'm so happy that you were here with me along the entire way. And to be real, I couldn't do it without you. I am so excited to take this thing on adventures and make like epic memories with it, with friends, with family. It's just gonna be amazing, and it's all thanks to you. Speaking of projects on the channel, while I've been working on this van, there's been a very big project happening on my home that I cannot wait to share with you. So make sure to subscribe to the channel because we have tons of home improvement, home renovation, and woodworking videos coming at you in the very near future. So that being said, friends, I'll see you soon, and happy DIYing. It's super dark, but look at this crew hanging out in the van.
So
Welcome to my cooking show where we cook really gourmet food in my camper van.
Did you say gourmet?
Gourmet, baby. Gourmet. Someone set a timer for 8 minutes, okay?
Pull it out, guys. Happy days.
We're doing pasta. First meal cooked in the van with my ladies. Girl dinner.
Gourmet dinner.
Good morning from the van. There she is.
Hi.
Oh my goodness. Best sleepover ever.
Best sleep ever. Cozy.
That actually
warm.
wasn't terrible.
No, it wasn't terrible. I wasn't even lying. You think I'd lie to you?
For YouTube, maybe.